Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal astrology forecast for the week of April 25th through May 1st of 2022. Alright, so this week we have essentially a new moon / partial solar eclipse here happening around the Saturday time period. So as we do approach the weekend, it is of course the ending phase of the current lunar cycle, and so it is good to let the energies die down, maybe do a bit of a reset and complete things from this previous month or even this previous 6 months. So approaching that, we do have some aspects with Venus, the planet of attraction and the things we value and our relationships, is going over, first of all, Neptune around Wednesday. So it could be a bit of a softer energy in terms of how we're relating with others, a bit of compassion, receptivity, maybe enjoying some of the more going with the flow energies of life, a little more of the inner spiritual connections to ourself and life and those relationships. And then Venus will be over Jupiter there around the new moon on Saturday. So there could be a bit of expansion there with our values, maybe enjoying a bit of the adventurousness that Jupiter can often give us. Along with this, around the mid part of the week, Mercury is going to be trining Pluto. Maybe a bit of a deeper mind is certainly available, good for research, uncovering deep things. And also about midweek here around Friday, Pluto is going to go retrograde. This happens once a year, and he goes retrograde for half of the year. So the next 6 months will be good to maybe start to take a bit of a pause or a step back from some of those deeper things in life. Whether it's healing, research, uncovering deep stuff that we may normally do in life, usually goes a bit on the back burner when Pluto goes retrograde, or at least it's good to start to rework that. Now, we usually don't feel it that personally, but something good to start to do maybe going into next week. All right, so there's all of this as well as some of the other minor aspects going on here. So let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week, and again, this is for the week of April 25th, 2022. As you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. So if you are new to this channel and not used to using the visible sky like this, definitely check out the link down below for more information. And just a bit of a heads up here, I am under a bit of a cold, so I might be coughing. I do apologize for that. So yeah, thank you for bearing with me here as I do recover from this bit of a cold I have. All right, so let's go ahead and do a bit of a recap and see where all the planets are coming into this week. They're all actually quite scattered now. They were all very close to each other earlier in the year, but now they're quite staggered. So let's go ahead and start with the sun. So the sun now is officially in Aries, in true Sidereal. And so the larger focus is still good on how we can take initiative with things in life. This was a shift that happened around later part of last week. But now definitely coming into this week, really good for that initiative. So anything that is about fire, initiative, taking action, this is likely the major theme. I would give it until after the new moon because that is where the new moon will be in Aries. So going into next week, this is still finishing up the Piscean lunar cycle where we had the last new moon, and Pisces is very different. This is more about the water, more about peace and tranquility. So there's still that going on, but certainly the focus on how we can take initiative is great to energize with the sun. Very exalted here in Aries. Now Mercury is in grounded Taurus. Our minds are in more of the grounding energies, and this was also a shift from late last week. And so in this context, how can we maybe take things a bit slowly, with our day-to-day routines, maybe stop to smell the roses, maybe enjoy some nature, and taking our time with learning and communication can also be quite grounding and quite resourceful, actually. We can have quite a resourceful mind when Mercury's in Taurus like this. All right, so along with this, Venus is also just recently shifted into Pisces. Last week we had a lot of shifts into new signs, and so enjoying perhaps some of the ethers, maybe some of that relationship energy as well. This is emphasized by Venus going over Neptune. I'll talk more about Neptune. Is very much like Pisces. It's more about again, what's important on a soul level, compassion, receptivity, things like this, likely the theme, at least good to develop when it comes to our enjoyments and relationships in life. And lastly, Mars is well set in Aquarius now. So when we are taking action, as it has been this past roughly a couple weeks here, good to approach things in a way that it's probably challenging the status quo. taking action and initiative in a way that is outside the norm, thinking outside the box, again, challenging that status quo is fantastic here with that fire in Aquarius. All right, so here is the aspects for the week. As you can see, it's quite stagnated throughout the week, and quite a few different things going on. But the most important is, of course, I would say the new moon / partial solar eclipse. Now, it's technically not a solar eclipse. We won't see it as a solar eclipse or anything like that. But in astrology, we consider the closest new moon or the closest full moon of that cycle to the north node or the south node, to one of the nodes, to be a eclipse. So not visibly, but still astrologically, I would say it's a shift to the life path. So a quite significant new moon. And so this will be here around the Saturday time period. And so as we do approach Saturday, again, it is good to complete and finalize things from this current lunar month. But let's go ahead and start first with Monday here. So coming into the week, no major aspects going exact on Monday, but the moon will be in Aquarius both Monday and the later part of Tuesday, the early part of Tuesday, Monday and the early part of Tuesday. And so this is going to be themes around that challenging the status quo. Right. So Monday, especially a great day for this. How can we be a visionary? Maybe thinking about things in the future, and how can we really unlock that unorthodox side that is willing to approach things differently? And so that's going to be the major theme there on Monday. Then as we start to get into the later part of Tuesday here, the moon will shift into Pisces, which is again ending the current lunar cycle, because this is the constellation where we had the last new moon. So for a good chunk of this week, from pretty much Tuesday all the way through Friday, as we approach that new moon, the moon will be here in that ending constellation of Pisces, the last zodiac sign that we use here, which is all about the same thing: completion, coming to peace, having more receptivity in our life. So all in all, I think it's a great week for that, even though, again, the sun is in Aries and there's likely themes already starting around that initiative, still reconnecting with what we've already been establishing or been learning this past really 2 lunar cycles, regarding being willing to, go a little with the flow, do what's more important to us on a soul level, maybe take a step back sometimes, maybe get some rest, right? More of that water energy there. So that's definitely the main theme there with the moon, very well placed in Pisces for the majority of the week until that new moon on Saturday. So once we do get to into Wednesday here, later part of Tuesday as well, just a minor aspect, Mercury will be in a sextile with expansive Jupiter. So our minds are maybe just a little bit adventurous, maybe a bit open-minded, relatively speaking, good for thinking and discussing things a little bit more abstract in nature or bigger picture in nature is always great to utilize with the sextile, but that's just an opening. We can choose or choose not to work with that. Something much more stronger that will be much more under the influence of around Wednesday will be that Venus is going to start to pass over all these planets that we do have over here in Pisces. So it's going to start with Venus over Neptune. And in this case, again, Venus is the planet of relationships and values, what we enjoy, what we want to connect to in life. And Neptune, just like Pisces, is the ethers. And so this is a great time for, of course, connecting to these elements of life, maybe a bit of rest, maybe a bit of that receptivity. In our relationships, again, compassion, acceptance, unconditionality. There's essentially a new chapter emerging here with our values collectively, probably valuing more of the softer, sensitive, receptive energies of life. And there could certainly be some new beginnings coming out of this, new beginnings in those relationships, new beginnings in those values, of course, right? And just more of these new connections and enjoyments we could be happening that do lead to more peace and that do lead to more of that soul fulfillment in our life. So anything on that level is great. It is a conjunction, so it's a new beginning, a yearly new beginning in this sense. And so we can set intentions towards it, but really just listening, seeing what is arising here. What are these new values? What is this receptivity? Is a great way of working with this new moon. Conjunctions happen more automatically, so there's nothing really to do as much as just to see what arises from this. All right, and then once we do get to that, what'll be Thursday time period, Mercury will start to trine Pluto. So this is a bit stronger than the earlier Mercury aspect. And here with the trine, we could be having quite a deep mind collectively. And so great to utilize that. So this could be, of course, internally, anything deep about ourselves, facing fears, personal empowerment. We could be learning about, understanding anything regarding communication that is personal empowerment, right? Related is also great. Maybe channeling that deeper mind into the occult or the deeper, the research and that kind of stuff. So excavating, bringing deep stuff to the surface, certainly supportive. Anything that does involve the mental or communicative energies in a deep way can also be quite supportive. So utilizing that is great. And again, just a supportive energy to do so while we again complete this lunar cycle, let the energies die down and really connect to this watery energy finishing up this lunar month this week. All right. And then as we get to the Friday time period, we will have Pluto going retrograde. So again, this is nothing very personal. We usually don't feel this that personal because it's a very distant planet and Pluto's retrograde for half of the year. And so in this case, give it some time, maybe slowly into next week or the coming weeks. Just noticing that it is good to maybe take a step back or pause with some of that deeper stuff. Maybe if it gets heightened on Thursday, then maybe we start to approach it a bit differently after that. So good to do that, right? Anything that is about healing, deep stuff, whatnot that we do in our lives, especially from a bigger picture sense or a yearly sense, good to maybe take a step back, approach it a little bit differently, kind of rework some things there on that deeper level. All right, and then once we do get to the Saturday, again, that will be the lowest energy of the lunar cycle, and we are gearing up for this new moon / solar eclipse in Aries. So this will be the new beginning with the Aries energy. Moving forward for the next lunar month, it will be conjunct Uranus. I will, of course, make a separate video on this, but very fiery and very, a bit radical here with Uranus. Uranus in Aries has been really spicing things up these past few years to help us all personally and collectively really access more of this individuality, more of this independence, more of this assertive side, more of our true self, our assertive, initiating, active side of our true self really coming through. And this new moon solar eclipse really is activating that. And so yeah, any intentions around that, but sit with it. Again, still lowest energy, but that is certainly the theme as we start to go into the coming weeks. Venus will then pass over Jupiter at that same time on Saturday. And so Venus, again, values over expansive Jupiter. So maybe a bit of enjoying and valuing some of the adventurousness, some of the free-spiritedness, some of the open-mindedness of life. Jupiter is very much about expanding our mental and literal horizons sometimes. And Venus can help us enjoy that, connect to that in life. And again, perhaps see a bit of a new beginning emerging, especially if there was anything since last month or earlier this month involving the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, right? We had this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, which is a new beginning to more peace in our life and more of the soul fulfillment, right? And so anything involving that's been more soul-fulfilling or some dream or ideal you've had or maybe more spiritual peace or rest, Venus is certainly activating that again here this part of the week, and then of course Mars will in the coming weeks. So anything on that level is fantastic, and once we start to get into next week, again slowly noticing these new beginnings starting to emerge, especially about the fiery and eccentric energies of the new moon conjunct Uranus in Aries. All right, and on a minor note, Venus will be sextiling Pluto throughout this as well, so maybe a bit of a deeper value, deeper connections, deeper enjoyments available. Again, just an opening with those sextiles. All right, so it's really a mouthful. There is, I guess, a lot going on this week, but it's quite straightforward, really. One more thing before I summarize. The moon will be... Yes, actually, no, I already said that. Okay, so to summarize, the most important thing is this new moon, this new beginning. The ending of the current lunar cycle shifts into the new cycle. So letting the energies die down and completing things as we approach the weekend, essentially. The moon will be in Pisces for the majority of the bulk of the week here, which is very much that ending energy anyways, and of course the energy of this current lunar cycle that we're in, which has been lessons and experiences around taking that step back and doing what's more important on a soul and spiritual level in our lives. A lot of the aspects are involving Venus, at least with these conjunctions. So new beginnings to our values and to how we connect and enjoy aspects of life, both in that receptive way and expansive way with Neptune and Jupiter. All right. We have a bit of a deep energy midweek available to our minds, but again, maybe a bit of approaching differently with Pluto going retrograde, starting to take a step back with some of that deeper energy that we're normally involved with in a bigger picture sense. All right. So yeah, quite straightforward. That is, I think, the most important stuff for this week. So everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a newsletter where you do get these videos released first before YouTube. So do sign up down below. It's absolutely free if you haven't yet. But have a great week, everyone. Thank you again. And I'll see you all next week for the next astrology forecast. Take care.